Hello everyone, welcome back to .NET Technical. This is the continued part of Top 30 ASP.NET Core interview questions and answer series. This is the part 6. Please watch the previous part of this series which provide your help into the interviews. Without wasting any time, so let's get started. The first one, what is routing and how can you define routes in ASP.NET Core? Routing is the process of mapping an incoming HTTP request to a specific method in the application code. A route maps the incoming request to the route handler. Basically, routing is the pattern matching system that matches the pattern into the route table. When application is start, then all the matched route are defined into the route table through the route property. When the incoming request is matched into the route table, then it processes the request. Otherwise, it returns 404 status that route is not found. Routing is used to handle incoming HTTP requests for the application. Routing find matching executable endpoint for incoming request. These endpoints are registered when application start. Matching process use value from incoming request URL to process the request. You can configure the routing in the middleware pipeline into the configure method on the startup class. Here is the blow code of the startup class where we define routing. There are two types of routing in ASP.NET Core application. The first one is conventional based routing. The second one is attribute based routing. Conventional based routing based on a series of conventions which represent all the possible routes in your system. Conventional based routing are defined in the startup class. And the attribute based routing, attribute based routing is based on attribute based on the controller or action label. If we define attribute on action label, then it is called an action label routing. And if we define attribute on controller label, then it is called controller label routing. Attribute routing provide us more control over the URL generation pattern, which help in SEO. SEO is search engine optimization. Basically, attributes based routing provide the more convenient way through the conventional based routing. It is not means that attribute routing is replace the conventional based routing. We can use both conventional and attribute routing in the single application also. The next one, explain the filters. Filter allow us to run custom code before or after executing the action method. They provide way to do common repetitive tasks on our action method. The filter are invoked on certain stage in the request processing pipeline. Filter help us to remove duplicate code in our application. There are 5 types of filters supported in ASP.NET Core application. The first one, authorization filter. The authorization filter are executed first. This filter helps us to determine whether the user is authorized for the current request. It can short circuit a pipeline if a user is authentication for the current request. We can also create custom authentication filter also. The next one is resource filter. The resource filter handles the request after authorization. So resource filter are executed after the authorization filter is executed. It can run the code before and after the rest of the filter is executed. This execute before the model binding happen. It can be used to implement caching. The next one, action filter. The action filter run the code immediately before and after the controller action method is called. It can be used perform any action before or after execution of the controller action method. The next one, exception filter. The exception filter are used to handle exception that occurred before anything written to the response in the body. The next one, result filter. Result filter basically are used for to code run before or after the execution of the controller action result. They are executed only if the controller action method has been executed successfully. The next one, how to handle errors in ASP.NET Core. ASP.NET Core provide a better way to handle the errors in the startup class as below. In this configure method, there is two conditions, is development and the other development. In the is development, we define use developer exception page and other you define use exception handler page. Development environment, developer exception page display detailed information about the exception. You should place this middleware before other middleware for which you want to catch the exception as the development time. Other development environment use exception handler middleware, load the proper page, and you can configure error code specific in the startup class configure method as below. Here is the below code. There we define status code 404 there, that is define not found exception. The other one is 403 and 503 and 500 that is written through the specific page like error page. Next one, what is WebListener? ASP.NET Core ships two server implementation, Crystal and WebListener. WebListener is also a web server for ASP.NET Core that run only on Windows. It is built on http.sys Crystal mode driver. WebListener is an alternative to Crystal that can be used direct connection to the internet without relying on the IIS as a proxy server. Next one, what is microservice? Microservice portrays a software development style that has grown from contemporary trend to the setup practices that are made to increase the speed and efficiency of developing and managing software solution and scale. Microservices is more about applying a certain number of principles and architecture pattern as an architecture. Each microservice lives independently, but on the other hand, also all rely on each other. All microservices in project get deployed in production at their own pace on premises on the cloud independently living side by side. So don't forget to like and subscribe my channel and press the bell icon for more upcoming videos and do comment if you have any query and suggestion. Thanks for watching.